So first of all, don't wait till you're done with college. If you want to write, freaking write. Don't talk about it. You don't even need to study it necessarily, although that could benefit you. Just start writing. Build up a portfolio. Get familiar with it.
Hey, Dr. Bill here. So get ready for an amazing Meet the Mentor. I'm so excited to introduce you to my new friend who I met in the amazing metal group that I go to on Saturday mornings. Leap signups are looking awesome. We're at about 160, you guys. So sign up now is the time, because we're going to sell out again this year. We'll run out of space. Leap Week will be July 22nd to the 28th this year at UCLA. Amazing speakers. We just saw a guy at the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry who was a keynote. I just tried to sign him up, so hopefully we'll get him. I spoke to Paula Abdul yesterday, and she promised me that she'll be there again. Paula is always a big crowd pleaser. Such a sweet, amazing, beautiful woman, and just a great lineup of speakers. And I would love to have Ian there as well as a speaker. So let me tell you a little bit about Leap, and a little bit about Ian, and a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Leap Week is 1 week. It's at UCLA, action-packed. Students 15 to 25 will live on campus. And basically my one-liner on Leap is this: college teaches you math, science, physics. Who teaches you success? We do. And that's what you get at Leap. We teach young people how to be successful in life. We teach them by bringing in successful people who will share the secrets of their success, the challenges, the things they had to overcome to become successful, by giving them skills that they need in studying, in public speaking, in networking, in etiquette, in life skills, and also health and fitness and things like that. So it's a really complete program. The program culminates on Friday with something we call a mentor workshop, where we bring in 100 different professionals from all walks of life, and students get an opportunity to literally sit at a table and talk to these mentors one-on-one. And many of them find mentors for life. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend Ian Blake Newhem. He is a veteran ghostwriter. You don't know what a ghostwriter is yet, you will in a moment, who founded the Ghost of the Future LLC, a full-service writing, editing, and platform building corporation after years in journalism education. Among other projects, he ghosted and co-authored New York Times and Amazon bestsellers. Some of them are right here. He worked with distinguished personalities, you know a lot of them. His firm also manages social media platforms, including regular blogs for host corporate, celebrity, and business clients. Ian, thank you for being here. We happen to go to, as I said, a men's networking group called Metal. Every Saturday morning that I'm in town, I attend. My dear friend Ken Rakowski puts this on, and I have really met some amazing men at this. And I happened to meet Ian, it would be 2 weeks ago now, at one of our Saturday morning meetings, and I had never met a ghostwriter really. And it was very interesting. So I'm going to let you tell them what a ghostwriter does.
Well, we write for ghosts. No, just kidding. We are the ghosts. So celebrities, CEOs, sports people, anybody who has a book in them, which a lot of people do, mostly there's other people writing their books for them, and it's under their name, not ours. That's why we're called ghosts.
And I think one of the biggest challenges, and you can address this too, is, you know, you're going to write a book for Dr. Bill or for, you know, President Clinton or something. You need to write it not in Ian's voice, right, but in my voice. And maybe you can share with the students how you actually do that, because you literally live with these people for months while you're doing this, don't you?
Very often, yeah. Sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes it's a few interviews, or I'm doing extensive research online, or I'm looking at people's TED Talks, I'm interviewing other people. corroborating everything they're saying, because sometimes people's memories aren't quite consistent with history. But more often than not, I'm spending a lot of time with somebody. And you're right, it's all about getting inside their voices, finding out who they are. Kind of like the way you would, if I showed you a bunch of tweets without a name attached to them, you'd probably know which of your friends is saying what, just because they have a certain cadence, a certain tone, a certain rhythm in the way they speak, maybe a certain sense of humor, maybe some favorite phrases. The secret is getting into that, inside that voice.
All right. Now, I know a lot of the stuff you do as a ghostwriter you can't really talk about publicly, but maybe you can think of something or someone that you can talk about publicly, and let me know like what one of your biggest, I would say, successes, or one of the things you're most proud of, maybe one of the most difficult projects that you did where you felt like you really had to overcome some, something spectacular to make it a success, and how you did that. That was like 15 questions in one, but
Okay.
I know you're smart. You'll remember.
I get it though, and I really like this question. So just this morning, before I got here, I had to send a proposal out. Proposal is a very special kind of project. It's about 100 pages long, and it's the way you really sell nonfiction. So if you're writing a novel, you write the novel, you send it out, people take it on its face. For nonfiction,
that means it's a true story, kids.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They know what nonfiction is. You have to send a proposal, which is a very specific tool. It's got marketing and demographic information. It's got sample chapters. It has platform information. Who is this person?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it's a really it's an art and science in and of itself. So this morning I had to send a big one out for a project that I've been working on for almost 2 years. This is a politician, a well-known politician whose name I can't say because of our contract. And it happens that this politician has very different politics than I do. So that was a stretch.
Okay, definitely a Republican.
Yeah, so I'm pretty progressive, and this guy's a pretty much die-hard, old-school, conservative politician. So how do I get into that voice? How do I do that without giving up my own character, without sacrificing my own values? So that was tough. And it happened that this guy was perfectly reasonable and super empathetic, completely different generation than I am, completely different politics, but he was able to become something more for the masses because I helped him do that. So I helped him articulate a mission that was, in my opinion, more reasonable, more consistent with, I think, what America needs. So he got to be himself, I got to be more myself, and we came to, in a way, a kind of compromise. Ultimately, it's all about his voice and his message. No word ever goes out without the author's approval, but I get to, at the same time I'm doing it in their voice, I get to influence it in a major way because I'm articulating what their mission is. And I could do that in a way that makes sense.
No, it's genius. So, how does one get started in this? I mean, how do you start working as a ghostwriter? Because a lot of people want to be writers. Like, I never heard anybody say, you know what, I really want to be a ghostwriter, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird thing for a writer to do because you think of writing as pretty ego-driven, and most of us are pretty ego-driven. We care about our image, we care about the creativity, we care about the credit for it, we want to change the world, we want to leave a legacy. So this is sort of the opposite of that.
Exactly.
It's someone else getting all the credit.
So how did it start?
I thought it would be a problem for me, and it totally hasn't been at all. In 90% of all the relationships I've had with an author as their ghost, it's been completely symbiotic. So if I were to write your book, I'd get to live as you, and I haven't gone to medical school. I didn't dedicate my entire life
drill teeth
to cosmetic dentistry. I don't know what that's like on a daily basis. So I get to do that, and at the same time, you don't have the skills or the talent or the inclination or the interest or the time to write a book. So it's kind of like a mutual admiration society most of the time. So you can imagine when you get to the celebrity level that some people are a little more.
But how did you actually start it? Like, what was your first? I'm sure you were, run-of-the-mill writer. Writing and writing and writing.
I was never run-of-the-mill.
Okay, but when did you make that transition from I'm writing for Ian to I'm writing as a ghost? Like, when did that actually happen?
So that happened in 2006.
And how?
I'd been a journalist, and I was a teacher, professor of journalism and literature and composition. And it happened that I was very sick, and so I needed to be in this clinic, for lack of a better word, for about 3.5 weeks. And these people saved my life. And at the end, they knew that I was a journalist, so they called me into this big meeting with their board, and they said, what can you do for us in terms of getting us PR? Could you write a brochure? Could you? And I just, because I had some chutzpah, I was like, let's do a book. And they were like, great. And so, sight unseen, they signed me on to that. I knew I could do it. I felt confident I could do it. And to this day, that was one of the best deals I made. We made a multi-book deal for a gigantic amount of money. This was before the economy crashed, and it became much more difficult to make that kind of money. And those books did really well, and I'm proud of them.
What kind of books were these?
So those particular books were on diabetes. So I have type 1 diabetes, in addition to cancer and a bunch of other things. And so because I believed in it, because I felt passionate, and because these people, the doctors, although they came from a completely different background than I did, and that was a bit of a challenge for me to overcome that particular leap, ultimately I came to understand that these guys could really change the world, and I wanted to be part of that. So, and now I'm at the point in my career where I've, from the beginning, been able to do just those projects that I feel passionate about and I care about a lot. So it's not a job. It's exactly what I'd be doing even if I wasn't getting paid.
So how did that transition from a very specific subject to you working with, these famous celebrities and doing, biographies and things like that?
So I was really blessed in that project to be involved with some great people and to have had already a couple of years worth of experience in terms of building platform and things like that. And I sold that project in 3 minutes, which is astounding and still a record for me. And ever since then, all my works come through agents or publishers or PR people. So I haven't had to actually sell myself ever. And that's how that transition happened. So in other words, I made some publishers money, I made some agents happy, I made these guys happy, so all my work comes through referrals.
Wow. I mean, so you've got this body of work now that basically speaks for itself, right? And then that's how they're getting you more and more work.
Right, and it's a good idea I'm finding to push myself, so I try to put myself into uncomfortable positions. For example, working with these conservative politicians, because once I did well for the one guy, I started getting a bunch of people like that. So I push myself to do things that I don't feel necessarily completely confident in, but I'm hoping that those skills will transfer over from the things I do feel confident in. And so I get to learn something every day, and it sort of just mixes things up for me.
Okay, so right before you came in, I was playing samples of this potential speaker for Leap, and his whole thing is, what if? Like, what if you could do this thing you've always dreamed of doing? So I'm going to ask you the what if question. What if you could write the one book on any living person today, be their ghostwriter? Who would that person be?
Totally Justin Bieber. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you shocked me.
That's a question that nobody's ever asked me before. I would say that one thing you sacrifice if you're a ghost, and it's a major sacrifice, is you don't necessarily get to do your own stuff. I spend most of my day, I did this as a professor, I did it as an editor, I do it now as a ghost, kind of dedicated to serving other people's messages. And there's something great about that. It's karmically great. It makes you feel good about the world. You get to change things. You get to help people spread their message. But you, in a way, you sacrifice with your own.
I get that.
Yeah.
But who would be like the one person that you really would like to sit down, really get to know, and just write their full biography?
I think it would be Kristen Gillibrand, the senator from New York.
Interesting. Why?
So she's kind of aligned with what my mission is. She is she's done something remarkable. She kind of came out of nowhere. She's grown slowly. She did something similar to what Hillary Clinton did, which nobody thought she would do, which is she put her head down. She serves the people of my home state, and she's dedicated to some causes that I really believe in. And her particular cause is about trying to prevent abuse and bad stuff that happens in the military to women. And I think that having dedicated her life to that, that's a kind of message I'd really like to help people with. I also believe really strongly in trying to prevent child abuse, and I've spent a lot of time and energy and resources on that. So I like that general message. Being involved in that space is something I really want to do, and I haven't done enough of it.
So, what if you tried to contact her and actually offered to do that?
Yeah, this is what I would tell my students to do, that exact thing, and yet I haven't done that kind of thing yet. So for one thing, I'm so busy that I don't have, I'd have to reorganize my time in order to start pitching myself and getting more work. But I can constantly step up my own game. I think that's a good idea. It requires some rebalancing, maybe not so much binging on entire series of shows at night. Instead, I could do a little more work. I am pretty disciplined and I work pretty hard. I'm just at the phase now where I think I might start pitching myself more to some targeted people. It's a numbers game, and you only have to do so much of that before you hit pay dirt.
Now, you could also have ghostwriters working for you.
I do. In fact, the genius, the master stroke of the way I do it, and the way a lot of people are running their freelance businesses, is to make it scalable. So,
totally.
Yeah, so everything's scalable, everything's flexible, everything's adaptable. So that means if I have a job where I need to have an SEO guy and a social media guy and an Instagram guy and teams of photographers and researchers and all that. In fact, I hire a lot of students to do this kind of thing for me, because I find that they're disciplined, they know what it means to research, they understand the difference between credible sources and not credible sources. So they're actually a really good resource for me. So depending upon the project, it's typically not me alone. It could be up to 10 other people working on it.
Wow.
And that's still scalable.
So in the near future, where do you actually see your business going?
That's a good question. I would like to be able to hire people full time, maybe give people insurance, maybe have an office, maybe have a little bit more stability in terms of the people who work for me, so that I'm not just parachuting them in to do a project at a time, but be able to have them work full time for me. And I'm sort of in a growing pains phase where I'm not quite there yet, and yet I really do need it, because I can't work more than the 18 hours a day that I'm currently working.
We just got an office at WeWorks right here in Century City. You might want to look into that. That's great for my app business.
Yeah.
One more thing I would like to know: how would a student get started in your profession? I mean, obviously it would help if you took journalism in school and whatnot, but where would be a really good starting place for a student once you finish college?
Also a great question. So first of all, don't wait till you're done with college. If you want to write, freaking write. Don't talk about it. You don't even need to study it necessarily, although that could benefit you. Just start writing. Build up a portfolio. Get familiar with it. Do that Malcolm Gladwell thing where the truth is you really need 10,000 hours of doing anything. So if you wanted to learn how to play piano concertos, you'd start by playing scales. So start doing that as early as you possibly can. There are all kinds of opportunities, especially online, to write today, now. The second thing I would suggest is surround yourself with other people who do it. And then maybe make it official. Work for the yearbook, work for the student newspaper, work for the debate club. Offer to help teachers out in terms of their research. There are all kinds of things you could do starting now where you could actually be physically writing. The third thing I would suggest is serve others. So don't do this for the money. The money will come later. If your goal is to help the world and change the world, you don't even have to worry about planning for making money. That will automatically happen because people will seek you out. That's what I would say.
That's great advice. And if any of the students watching would like to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, again, I would love it if people would contact me. It's www.theghostofthefuture.com. You can also reach me at ian@theghostofthefuture.com. So hit me up, let me know what you can do for me and what I can do for you, more importantly, so that maybe you're a good researcher, maybe you have good social media presence, maybe you're an influencer, maybe you just want to learn more. So I'll do whatever I can do to help you, and anything you do to help me, offer it up.
That's awesome. What great advice. All right, so next week, Dr. Bill will be in Belize diving with sharks in the Blue Hole, so I won't be here. We'll probably run a repeat, but till then, Dr. Bill, over and out.